Welcome to First. I'm Mark Eichman along with Nichelle Polston and Shirley Min. During the recent economic summit, President Trump complained about trade imbalances. A 21st century version of manufacturing jobs could help boost our economy.
The impact on our economy from healthcare is an ongoing issue. There's another impact that isn't discussed very often. What about the caregivers and who takes care of them?
Not all caregivers can transfer the style of the show American Ninja Warrior to their fields, but one person can. We'll update Greg Fleming's story this week. First, your public media news magazine starts now.
We've been hearing a lot of talk about bringing back or creating new manufacturing jobs. And while the University of Delaware's new Manufacturing USA Institute won't teach students how to build cars, it is a part of the school's renewed focus on research. For this week's First Look, we visit the Newark campus to learn more about that research effort.
God bless you.
In his 2014 State of the Union, President Obama called for an expansion of efforts to improve high-tech manufacturing.
We also have the chance right now to beat other countries in the race for the next wave of high-tech manufacturing jobs. And my administration's launched 2 hubs for high-tech manufacturing in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Youngstown, Ohio, where we've connected businesses to research universities that can help America lead the world in advanced technologies.
Those manufacturing hubs have now expanded to 11. The latest is at the University of Delaware in Newark. UD is now the headquarters for the National Institute for Innovation in Manufacturing Biopharmaceuticals, better known as NIMBLE, where researchers are working on improving techniques for manufacturing biopharmaceuticals.
One could argue all of the easy manufacturing challenges have been solved, and so what's left to really go to the next level are some of the more challenging manufacturing issues that a number of companies want to try to address and solve.
Solving those problems could lead to treatments for Alzheimer's disease and some cardiovascular disease. Finding those solutions is a part of the University of Delaware's increasing focus on research.
It requires a commitment by the institution to try to invest in the right way, to grow in the right way, and we have some very inspired and new leadership at the university that is really trying to push the boundaries to promote not only the university's interest in terms of research and expanding in that direction, but also our impact on the nation.
As part of the research push, Charlie Reardon's vice provost position was promoted to a vice president post, reporting directly to UD's new president, Dennis Hasanis.
I think that reflects a natural evolution of the institution and the increasing importance that the president, the board of trustees, and the entire university places on the role of research, but also scholarship and innovation. Increasingly, more and more students across all disciplines are expected to have a research experience, particularly at the undergraduate level.
That research experience better prepares students for more than just their first job out of college.
If all we do is prepare them for their first job out of college, we haven't been successful. And so we're really focused on that longer-term journey, and part of that longer-term journey is to ensure that those students are prepared in ways that they can help drive the economy by creating new industries and creating new companies.
One of those new companies created out of UD research is SimuCare, founded by Professor Amy Copperwaith. The company's products allow nursing students to learn how to interact with live patients who've had a tracheostomy.
This product is called SimuTrach, and essentially it was a product that was made out of the University of Delaware.
Replacing the old training mannequins, this device uses sensors that send signals to the trained patient who responds to the procedure as necessary.
Sorry, 1 minute. 1 minute. Okay, 1 more minute. Okay, I got it. Okay, now they get to see real-time reactions, real-time behaviors, and then get feedback at the end of the simulation.
After collaborating with other UD departments, including theater and mechanical design, SimuCare was launched as a company in 2015.
The amount of support that you need to do research and development on a product financially would not be feasible or possible for any of the faculty members here. The support of not just the financial support, but the support to encourage faculty to do these research projects, it just propels us forward.
Whether it's developing new biopharmaceuticals or better training methods for nurses, UD's new research push is well on its way.
Over the past several years, we've expended more than $140 million in research-sponsored dollars, and we fully expect and know that that trajectory is headed upward in a very steep way.
More than 1,000 students take part in undergraduate research each year, in addition to more than 3,800 graduate students involved in research projects. There's hope that those projects will teach students very marketable skills in emerging employment sectors that then could lead new employers in those fields to move or start up here in Delaware.
Well, Mark, there are more than 123,000 family caregivers. According to surveys, many of them feel left in the dark when it comes to administering care to their loved ones. The Caregiver Act, a new law which went into effect this year in Delaware, aims to bridge those gaps and give caregivers more help. Carol Barnett and Steve Slotkin are like many close-knit siblings. One starts a conversation and the other finishes it.
Tell her your I was born too soon story. Steve was born in 1963.
Yeah, we had to fight for everything we got.
Born with cerebral palsy, 53-year-old Slotkin is no stranger to fighting for his rights. The baseball enthusiast was born before federal laws required children with disabilities to be educated in integrated public schools.
He went to regular kindergarten in like '69, and then basically they told my mom that he couldn't come back, they couldn't accommodate him. So he ended up in a specialized United Cerebral Palsy school. I mean, the district still had to educate him, but not in an integrated setting.
I was doing the same workbooks over and over.
So it was 5th grade when he was integrated back into the schools.
Slotkin's parents remained his caretaker until their deaths. Following that, he lived in a nursing home for 20 years, but has been living with his sister for the last 14 years.
When I moved into this house 30-something years ago, I immediately got rid of the steps. There's no steps you saw when I came in. And along the way, we added a bathroom, we widened doorways. I mean, so we were pretty ready when we decided to make this move.
As her brother's primary caregiver, Barnett has always been proactive.
To me, when you're a caregiver for someone, you're helping them live their life. So you do what you have to do to ensure that that happens.
For Barnett, a health and social service employee, asking questions and getting help comes naturally. But for more than half of family caregivers in Delaware, it isn't that easy.
In 2014, we started with a survey in the state, and the survey showed that there were 123,000 family caregivers. So they are non-professional, non-paid family and friends and loved ones who are caring for somebody. And they're doing some common things like preparing meals and doing transportation, but they're also doing some really technical medical things more and more lately as people get sent home from the hospital sooner with more problems. So they're changing dressings, managing oxygen, managing IVs, just doing some technical stuff. And 78% of them told us that they were not really prepared for that. They didn't feel comfortable with enough coaching and teaching to be able to do it.
AARP's Sheila Grant says the CARE Act will help bridge those shortcomings.
It's really simple. It does 3 main things. It requires hospitals, when a person is admitted, to ask them, is there someone who takes care of you at home? And to record the name and contact information for that caregiver. And then when it comes time for discharge, they have to notify that person. And then before the discharge, they have to offer that caregiver a chance to come in for a face-to-face demonstration and instruction on the care that's going to be needed at home.
Grant says in most cases, caregivers were being advised not on a consistent basis. The Caregiver Act changes that because now it's a law. Grant adds the Caregiver Act will also help families be more proactive in pre-selecting a caregiver so that person can get the support they need in advance to taking on the duties.
Coming up on First, 2 cats and a hobby turned business come together for this week's First Experience. Also, World Cafe Live rocks out one last time in Wilmington. We give a listen later on First.
A physical therapist at AI DuPont Hospital for Children made it to the Philadelphia City Finals in American Ninja Warrior last season. It's a show where competitors run through a gauntlet of extreme obstacles. Greg Fleming hasn't made it all the way yet, but he is using his ninja skills to help his clients get back to fighting shape.
42-year-old Greg Fleming. There's the drop and a big bounce.
The three-time veteran of American Ninja Warrior ran out of gas on Rolling Thunder. But it's not over for Greg Fleming.
Yes, I will be trying again.
The 43-year-old is a physical therapist at AI DuPont Hospital for Children in Wilmington.
Primarily, most of the kids that we see have had a brain injury, so I work with those kids on a daily basis and other diagnoses as well to help them get better range of motion, strength, balance, coordination, running speed, agility.
All things you need as a ninja, too. So Greg incorporates some of the Ninja Warrior type obstacle training into his rehab PT.
Even before I knew about Ninja Warrior, I think obstacle course training or having kids do obstacle courses is something that I've been doing and the other therapists have been doing for over 15 years. And now that Ninja Warrior is out, the kids love doing the obstacle courses even more.
Especially 10-year-old Garrett Rogers, a patient from Millsboro. G Money, as he's known by his friends back home, has come a long way since May, when he was hit by a drunk driver at Little League practice.
He was not conscious. He had a fractured skull, fractured orbital bones. He had a brain injury. His scapula was broken, both bones in his arm, his pelvis, ribs, his femur, and then lots of lacerations.
1, 2.
He had to relearn how to speak, to eat, to walk. The brain injury affects everything, even his decision making, his speech. So he does occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, and then they have a school program here, so he does school therapy.
Several surgeries, blood transfusions, and hours of therapy later.
Blast off, here we go, go time. Move those feet fast.
Garrett's doing better than anyone initially anticipated.
Where he is now is a miracle.
And Mom Wendy says Greg was a huge part of Garrett's recovery.
They've absolutely clicked from the beginning.
Hey, you can
He
write it
just
down.
responds to him. I think they definitely have a bond.
A bond forged through sweat, perseverance, and loss. Garrett's father, Kirk, died suddenly, just months before Garrett was hurt.
At home, he talks about him to people, and so I think having lost his dad and being able to have another male that can kind of step in that figure, even if it's just for an hour, is a blessing.
When Greg isn't training Garrett or others, he trains himself in the hospital employee gym. Garrett got to see Greg's ninja training up close on this day.
What do you think about Greg being on American Ninja Warrior? Is it cool that he's on it?
Yes, and it makes me want to push myself.
It's equally as motivating when I see Garrett and the other kids I work with in the hospital do the things that they do. So it pushes me to do better myself.
One thing's for sure, Garrett and Greg are both winners. Garrett recently celebrated a birthday. He's 11 now and getting stronger every day. Mom Wendy maintains a Facebook page on Garrett's progress for all of his supporters. It can be found at G Money Strong. Meantime, we'll be rooting for Greg on American Ninja Warrior if he gets picked to compete in Season 9.
If you walk by the Queen Theater this week, you'll notice that the World Cafe Live at the Queen sign is still in place, but the gift shop at street level is completely empty. That's a symbol of the transition taking place inside the music hall. Last week, a grand concert took place to mark the end of one era that began with promoter How Real. It will lead to the beginning of another.
Everybody is local that have had some kind of connection with the Queen over the years, either a relationship with Hal as a friend or just supported the venue over the years.
We're the head schools of Delaware, and this is Newark. I think my moves are ready. I like to sing with loud. I like to raise up. I keep my hands up ready. I love to see you smile. I love you play my rock.
I'm coming to Queen for about 4 years since I moved down to the area. Great place to catch some local bands, some big name acts. I've always loved coming down here with friends on a Thursday night, a Wednesday night, a Friday night, didn't matter. Good music upstairs, good music downstairs. Real good time, I want to miss it.
When I'm up here, this is my go-to place. I love what they do here. I love what Hal did here, bringing the local music, bringing the international music, whatever he could to make this a better place.
Came out for the farewell action, man. You know, it's David Bromberg's playing, a bunch of other local bands I've seen play over the years, so came to check him out, show a little love, and then we'll see what Live Nation does.
I'm looking forward to the Live Nation coming in because I think it's going to take it up a step, or two, or three, which is exactly what we need here. Wilmington needs this place. Tonight is a celebration of what it has been, and I look forward to what it will be. Long live the Queen.
Live Nation's website already lists 4 shows at the Queen between July and September. Philadelphia radio station 104.5 is sponsoring Newfound Glory's concert in July. Matthew Sweet will be there in September.
Over the last 3 broadcasts, we've been providing some highlights to our conversations on race in Delaware. We called it Removing Fences Between Black and White Communities. This week, we're going to hear from our 5th panelist on stage at the Baby Grand. She is Reverend Rachel Livingston. She lives in Maryland, but her ties to Delaware run deep.
There's a division because of racism that's embedded in the way that we function as a country, as a city. And I think we're kidding ourselves if we're narrowing it down to some simple things and denying that there has been a division when we have stripped historically from the African American community. You know, the African American community in Wilmington took up most of the east side, and then you had people strip all of the land from the black people on east side, stuck a hotel in the middle of what is that? Not King Street, French Street. So you stuck a hotel in the middle of French Street, took away all that people owned in the city of Wilmington, and then you want to say, okay, now you all are supposed to, you know, function the way you were functioning before and be successful. So we're denying how history has functioned, but then we've also othered people so hard that we don't see people empathetically. We can't see the fact that maybe the reason that there is a division is because we've taken away all that people have, and then they need to function in that. They need to function after they've had their things taken away, but then they need to function after that traumatic experience of having their things taken away. So we have to kind of realize that this thing is so much deeper than what we see at face value. And I think that we're in complete denial if we don't recognize that, if we don't recognize the history that's here, and acknowledge that, because we can't break down any fences if we're going to sit here and pretend like the problem is not the problem.
After the event, the audience broke up into 5 groups to react to what they heard and to come up with ideas on how to keep the conversation going. Here's a sample of 3 of those groups.
Many would like to be able to have access to tangible ideas and strategies that can be used to begin this process of taking down fences. And one action item was suggested to create a website that could be a place to compile information that people would be able to return to.
I think that's a good idea. I suggested that.
A lot of good points were raised. Some folks wanted to be a little more strategic, again, and specific in terms of aligning strategies to the problems that were addressed. Many talked about the impact, again, on education and even some of the unintended consequences of the late desegregation of schools in terms of how it has continued to impact the structural racism as it relates to education.
One of our panelists thought that teachers should be bused in or brought into the city schools rather than kids going out to, to attend schools in the suburbs. We had another young man who is getting a master's, well, he's got a degree in criminal justice and he's pursuing perhaps being a lawyer, but he's also at the same time, while his friends are doing other things in the world and having more fun, he's trying to get involved in advocacy groups like Delaware Can and others. And he's looking for other ways to integrate and, reach out and help the community. One of our members lives in Bear. She wants to move into Wilmington so she can get involved in Wilmington.
The fences that we talked about today and who put the fences there in the first place, and sort of acknowledgement that those fences exist, a shared responsibility by those who built the fences, and a sharing of power was one of the themes. The other thing that I sort of challenged the white men in our group, because the panelists talked a lot about white privilege and particularly white male privilege. And so there was some discussion about whether or not there should be this theme where black people expect something from white people without having some expectations of themselves first. And I think Tony talked a little bit about it during his comments today. But one of the things I heard specifically one of our white men of privilege talk about is an acknowledgement of that privilege. He used the words, I recently recognized I have the wind at my back, and it took me some time to realize that. And he said that, I would examine life calling myself when I have racist thoughts, so pausing when I have those thoughts, and any actions that I have that may be racist, to pause and think about the repercussions of those.
We also want to keep the conversation going. Send along your thoughts. This event can be seen in a WHYY special on Sunday, July 2nd at 3:30 p.m. We'll give you a reminder, of course, in a couple of weeks.
Nancy Butler's been making jewelry since she was a child. It wasn't until she and her husband adopted 2 stray cats that her hobby became a business. From her Wilmington home, Nancy uses beads and precious stones from all over the world to make her jewelry, which you'll see in our first experience.
My name's Nancy Butler, and I make jewelry. I've been making jewelry basically all my life. Probably started out when I was a child. My mother had a box of my grandmother's jewelry. Me and my sister as kids used to play dress up and play with the jewelry, always breaking the jewelry, so that's how we learned how to restring stuff, and it just took off from there. Alley Cat Jewelry Studios. The name comes from my 2 cats, Samson and Delilah. They were rescue cats from the streets of Wilmington. They just showed up on the back porch of one of the offices that we work for, and we adopted them, and Alley Cat Jewelry Studios was born. It's the stones that call to me, and it may also be partly obsession. I'm a beadaholic. I travel the country for these stones. We go to Tucson in February for the annual gem shows there, and Denver in September. I go with 3 empty suitcases. It's 150 pounds of rocks basically comes home with me. Each necklace, each bracelet, it's just based upon the stone. The stone tells me where it wants to go, not in a crazy kind of way. Sometimes I'll start with 1 strand of beads and just make something, and then it calls, it needs to be 2 strands or 3 strands, and I'll just build up from there. 1 strand is not enough, 1 bead is not enough, it has to I never know what the final product is going to turn out to be. Sometimes the stones will sit on my desk for a year. I don't know what to do with them, and all of a sudden one day it comes to me. Sometimes it comes in a dream too, but it's the stones that dictate the final form. The biggest thrill I get is that somebody will actually spend their hard-earned money on something that I made, and they're going to their forever home, and somebody appreciates it. That they're loved and appreciated, and that the person wearing them gets as much enjoyment wearing them as I had making it.
While we were shooting this story, only Nancy's cat Samson would come out for us. Delilah was camera shy and stayed hidden until we left. Nancy tells us both cats love to play with the beads as she works, and what cat wouldn't love that? You can get more information on Nancy's work when you visit her on the web at alleycatjewelrystudios.com.
Next week on First, we know how much Jack Markell loves riding bikes. On the next First, we'll talk to him about his cross-country mission with a cause coming up in a couple of weeks.
And maybe we can edit that video so that it's just the former governor and not the two of us riding bikes, because Route 9 was plenty for me. I'm not going cross-country. I'm having trouble breathing just doing that. That is First for this week. We thank you for watching. For Shirley Min and Nichelle Polston, I'm Mark Eichman. Have a great week.